Welcome to What in the World, a project initiated by Hungry for Life International. Today's podcast is titled Haiti Bible Mission, Investing in Local Leaders, and Jess will be interviewing Mark Stockland. So grab your headphones, sit back, relax, and listen as they talk about what the big deal is about focusing on developing local leaders and what that looks like in Haiti.
Hi, and welcome back to another week of the What in the World podcast from Hungry for Life, where we talk about all things to do with global nonprofits and running an international organization. So, on occasion, we are graced with a guest who is actually our international partner. So today we have Mark Stockland from Haiti Bible Mission. So hi, Mark. I'm going to pretend like I haven't said hi to you yet today.
Right. Hey, Jess, what's up?
Yeah, not much. Just kicking it in the rainy Fraser Valley. Where are you kicking it from today?
I am kicking it from Fort Myers, Florida, and it's like 91, so and sunny.
We're just gonna turn this podcast off because everyone's officially jealous. That's not fair. Yes. Right. So we're gonna be talking to Mark about Haiti Bible Mission, which is located in Jeremy, Haiti. So let's just jump right in. Our listeners want to know what's happening in Jeremy. So can you tell us, what does Haiti Bible Mission do?
Yeah, what we do, what we focus on is empowering leaders to transform communities. And so what I started 13 years ago was looking for young high school age men and women, teenagers, young adults that I call them the C and D players, meaning the ones that are overlooked by society, overlooked by maybe the government and other businesses. And I love to give those leaders a shot at pursuing their dreams and turning them into A's and B's. So I literally feel like a lot of people could do things with a bunch of educated people, but the reality of it is, who's going after those C and D players who are humble, hungry, have a desire to make an impact, but just don't have anybody giving them a shot. So what I do is then I travel around the U.S. when I'm back here, and I raise funds to put these men and women through school, through college, and let them pursue their dreams and what they want to become in Haiti. And then while they're going to school to pursue their dreams, whatever it is, doctor, pastor, teacher, carpenter, plumber, doesn't matter, is then we put them through money management. We do marriage classes, we do discipleship, leadership development stuff, business practices, teach them a skill and trade, cover their medical, give them housing, basically set them up on a path for success. And so we really want to focus on raising up indigenous leaders that in turn, it's you can reproduce it, so leaders that produce leaders. So that's the heartbeat. So all the ministry, all the outreach that we do is a byproduct, but of our leaders that are on the ground, and it's all Haitian run. So
yeah, I love that. And we're going to take a bit of a local leaders focus on this podcast as well. Just kind of diving into the importance of investing in local leaders. So we'll get into that a bit later in the podcast, but you started HBM, right?
Yes.
So
13 years ago.
13 years ago. Wow. And you're still going strong. I feel like you're the kind of guy who's got a lot of capacity to just keep going. What's your team like?
I think every couple of years I want to quit.
Okay. All right.
It's meaning it does get hard, but no, I do love what I do, but there are times it gets hard. But my wife Lacey and my team and the stories of life change. And that's just is that what we do is not a quick fix. It's not easy. Does that make sense? I think I'm a guy that loves to see results and produce. And I think most people do. But when you're discipling and you're equipping and you're empowering, that's a long-term vision play, right? And so when you find a 14, 16, 18-year-old man or woman to invest in, you don't really see that fruit for many, many years. So I think that's where when I say something, I get fresh, like, man, I want to see something happen. And then my wife Lacey will come beside me and say, hey, but look at where this person was and look at what they're doing. So so 13 years ago, that was it. I moved my newborn son, Barrick, my oldest, and my wife Lacey quit our jobs and sold all that we had, moved to Haiti, and wanted to raise up leaders and plant churches. And here we are 13 years later.
So was that how did that come to be? Did you both, was this ruminating with the both of you for a while, or was it just like God spoke to you audibly, or how did you come to the decision to uproot, sell everything, move to Haiti?
Yeah, I had went to Haiti when I was 17 years old for the first time. My dad and mom had taken me on a mission trip to Haiti for 2 weeks. And so me and my brothers were there, and we spent 2 weeks, and God really touched my heart there. But I didn't feel called into ministry. My goal was to pursue the PGA Tour out of high school, and that's what I did. I moved to Florida and my goal was to become a professional golfer. And my goal was to support those that were called and gifted in ministry, because that wasn't me. But I did love Haiti, and I would go on mission trips like a lot of people, and I would go over there back and forth, and been to Mexico a few times. I love to be an involved ministry. I just felt like there were other people could do that. I couldn't do that. Like that's not me. And much of the Moses story, like I'm not good at speaking. I'm not good at that. So let somebody else do that. I even took my wife Lacey there on a mission trip, spent a week and a half, and I proposed to her on the beach over there in Haiti. She says she knew then that we would be back there one day, but I was still pursuing money and the tour. And God blessed me with some really good jobs, including my wife, and we were doing very well. And just had everything I guess you could say the world had to offer here. Lived in a gated community, had boat, jet skis, new cars. Like I had everything. But I remember I was 27, I guess almost 28 years old. And I remember looking at my wife, Lacey, and looking at, there's this big party at the golf club that I'd helped build, and working there. And there's a big party with all these rich people and millionaires. And I was just like, looked at her and I said, is this it? Like I said, I felt like God had created me for something so much more than this. And I was like, how many people would want my job? And probably a lot of people, and could do my job better than me. Probably a lot of people. But how many people would give up what I have and move to Haiti and raise up leaders and plant churches? And I said, probably not very many. And I just, at that moment, I felt like if God can use 12 ordinary, untrained men in the disciples, then God could certainly use up northern Iowa to, all I had was a passion and heart to serve the Lord. That's all I had. So literally I met with my pastor, and he goes, what's holding you back? I said, well, if you open the Bible, nothing, other than first world money and all those things. So literally I just said, I'm headed, put my 2 weeks notice in, sold all we had, and moved to Haiti. And boy, I've got some stories about living over there the first couple of years.
Whoa.
So I'm surprised my wife is, but she's a rock star and my hero. So I'll tell you what, there's no one else I think that could have put up with me those first couple of years, for sure, of no air conditioning, running water, toilets. It was rough.
So did you guys move straight to Jeremy? That's where you guys started?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Were you
Because that's where I had visited when I was in high school.
Right. Okay.
So that's why I had some connections, and that's where the draw was, for sure.
Were you in Haiti? Did you live in Haiti same time Jason and Will lived in Haiti?
Yep. Two of my best friends. Absolutely.
All
yep.
right.
They flew my family. They watched my kids grow up, and it's they're two of my favorite.
Cool. And now you get to do ministry together in a different way. It's fun. So I was perusing.
That's exactly right.
I was perusing through your guys' website yesterday, trying to dig up some dirt for today's podcast. Not dirt, of course, but you talk about leadership development, church planting, and educational support as like your focus for ministry. So why those three things? Why leadership development? Why church planting? And why educational support?
Well, the educational support, I mean, we're blessed here in America or other countries that are developed where we have education that's paid for by taxes, right? I mean, like we go to school and send our kids to school, not college, but you know what I mean? Like going to, high school, middle school, preschool, all that. So Haiti doesn't have that opportunity. You have to pay for it. So being able to give people that opportunity for education and to give them the knowledge that they need. Church planting to me is a byproduct of the discipleship and the developing leaders. But I think we're missing some churches that are just raising up leaders, discipling, equipping, going after lost. And we're not looking to build big churches. We're looking to plant a bunch of small churches that are doing life together with people and reaching their neighbors, reaching people in their community. I think that's healthy churches that to me are more important than big churches, big or multiple churches. So I'd rather have fewer churches that are healthy, if that makes sense, than we're not just over the plant churches every week, but we try to plant every couple of years. We want to launch a new church and have leaders raised up. So so that's one. And then the developing leaders, I think that's one of the biggest problems in every country, is that it's a lack of leaders. I mean, look at every government, the corruption. Look at every church. Look at every business. When things run well, it's usually a sign of good leadership. When things run poorly or there's corruption, it's usually a sign of a lack of character and good leaders. And so that's been my heart and focus. Is that's part of the reason I love what I do, is because it's my story too. Like, I'm just a poor farm boy from Northern Iowa, and if God can use me and I can pursue my dreams, because with God all things are possible. I'm like, why can't I give these Haitian men and women that same opportunity? So I believe that if we can educate them, I believe we can empower and train and equip these leaders. And then we have churches where community is built and we're going after the lost and hurting. I feel like it's a win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I want to segue into missions, like combining North American missions or not North American missions, but North American missionaries into the role of poverty and reaching the lost. And so I want to know your take on what you've seen in your 13 years of ministry in Haiti. What have you seen done well in missions? I mean, you talk a lot about investing in local leaders, and I think that's so great. But where do mission teams or North American, where does North American money play into this, and how have you seen missions done well, or alternatively?
Well, I want to be positive. That's, if you look at our Facebook or website, you'll never see pictures of us posting, kids in a mud puddle, or right. Like, mm-hmm. We try not to focus at all on negative. So I don't even like to speak negative. So I try to focus more on what I think is the positive. So, and obviously you can read between the lines of what would be the opposite of that. So when I look at what success looks like for myself or missionaries, I think sustainability. And I look at indigenous leadership. So if you are empowering, equipping, if you are building an organization or running an organization that is not dependent on you, the white person, the missionary, you're building something that's going to last, right? Mm-hmm. If you're focused on just a handout, or right, you know what I mean? That's where I go, where they're always in need of you. Then that's where I kind of go, well, I don't, because I've seen it, you know what I mean? Because if you're just feeding people, right? If you're just doing these things, well, if you pull away and you haven't invested and raised up people to keep that feeding program going, then you walk away, it dies with you. And so that's why I think the longevity of the bigger play for the kingdom, the longevity is the building something that's not around you. It's building people around you that can run it and that should be running it. And so yeah, that's where I feel like the success is. The money, the teams, that's all part of it. I can tell you what we do, and I can tell you there's other missions that I believe try or do some of the same stuff. And that's that we don't have teams come down and just throw a roof on or do something medical or whatever. It's working hand in hand with local Haitian men and women. It's training them. So like, give you an example, we have a medical team come down. Those doctors and nurses will work hand in hand with our Haitian doctors and nurses, and they're a team. And so the knowledge that's transferred and back and forth and given, both people grow. But the goal is that when our team leaves, the Haitians are a little bit better. They know a little bit more. They feel encouraged. That goes for construction projects. So when we do construction projects, we don't just have these American guys come down who are amazing at putting roofs on and just go get up there and do it. We found that the most impactful way is to actually get a bunch of our Haitian men and women up on the roof with these guys and girls, and they're doing it together and they're training. And it's so awesome to see. Like, I used to be a carpenter as well. And when I first moved there, I was on every roof project. And I can tell you, Jess, I have not touched a saw or hammer in probably 5 years, because all my Haitian men and women are like, oh, I'll do that. I'll cut it. Generators are out. Like, I'll look out my office and see people cutting and building stuff. And it's so awesome. So when I think about missions doing it well, I think that's, you know what I mean? Like that's where it is it's about bringing teams down and bringing money down that lifts their arms, that empowers them, and that creates sustainability and change, not what we think, but what they think is best. What projects do they think are, most needed? What, you know what I mean? So I try to focus on the positive. I do see some missions doing that, and I think that is the best way for how you're going to run any mission in any country. That's what I would do. I was in Mexico or China or where else, is raise up the leaders there. So
cool. Yeah, we love hearing that. We love hearing that buzzword, sustainability. I mean, it's so for investing in your local leaders, what does it actually look like for Haiti Bible Mission? Like, what do you guys do? Is there a program? Is there what kind of training?
Yeah, I mean, we have an English class every week. We have discipleship classes that take place every week. We do discipleship where it's all collective, all together. Then we have smaller breakout sessions of groups of 3 to 6. They're also involved in their church. We do money management classes. We have part of the program it depends on when I can get North American teams down, but I'll have business leaders come down and teach on which Benny did. I think he did an 1.5-hour session when he was down there, just going over all our top leaders that either have a business or dreaming and praying about starting a business. And that's part of it, is we want to train them. And so while I can train to a certain degree, I want people who are so skilled like Benny, who have the knowledge, who's got that background, to come down. And so that's another way that we invest in our leaders, is from pastors to carpenters to doctors, is we bring them down to have them help train our leaders. So it's not just paying for them to go to school. It's helping sit down and do life with them, and invest in them in all the areas that I believe are very vital and key for their success. Because just because they graduate school and have a degree doesn't mean they're going to be successful, right? Like, there's a lot more that goes into that training. So it usually takes anywhere from 3 to 7 years. Our doctors that we put through med school obviously took more than 8, but usually it's, I'm finding young adults who have a few years left of school. So the amount of time I have with them is anywhere from, 3 to 5, 6, 7 years to get them through college. And so that does give me time, but I'm trying to be very proactive to make sure that our program is, hey, man, in 2 to 4 years, we can equip you and empower you, give you the skill sets and the trades. That's, how do you manage your money? If you had a business, how would you do this? That's where Benny and other leaders come down. We have couples that'll come down and do marriage seminars. So we want people, even they're single, they have to attend. Like, that's the other thing. If you're in our program, you have to attend all these. You're not like, oh, I can't make it today. Like, we're paying for your education. We are investing in you. You're required to be at these, because you might be 20 years old, but you don't even have a girlfriend, or girl, and you don't have a boyfriend. The reality is you need to know some of these biblical truths. I'm hearing from somebody who's been married for 20, 30, 40 years. And so that just all, we kind of flood them, but it's every week to every month to every quarter, there's new things being brought in to help train and equip them.
So we're talking about investing in local leaders and the importance of that.
Right.
How have you seen investing in leaders? How have you seen physical transformation in Jeremy, Haiti?
That's probably the easiest in a way to see the physical transformation, because we're empowering and spending time with people who literally don't have the education training. They didn't know they could finish school or have their own house, be married. To see a majority of our leaders married now, with children, have their own house, have a motorcycle. Some have got cars now. They've added on to their house and are renting those rooms out. They've got businesses. It's very easy to see that physical transformation, as well as just the growth in them personally. Like, they've gotten bigger and healthier, and they're, you know what I mean? Like, they were these skinny little men and women that were in high school, and now to see them married with children out on their own, it's awesome to see. And that physical piece, that transformation, it's like their dreams are coming true, and they're helping stimulate the economy. So if we just send somebody through school and that's it, and you walk away, like, it's just hard. But we help them get a loan from the bank. Now the bank makes money. They take that money and then they pay local people to build their house. Now all the local people are making money, right? And then they get married. Now their wife has got to buy stuff for the house, right? The person out on the market's making money, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, you're creating this stimulus around the economy of Jeremy. And so one thing that I love right now is our leaders that are planted, that are married with children, that have a house, they're helping those around their house. right? Like, so whenever there's a hardship, like right now, things are just hard, things are expensive. There's been a shortage of food and gas and stuff. Well, guess what? Everywhere one of our leaders lives, they tell me stories about how they're helping give food, water, fuel, whatever it is, to people around them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you empower a life, a family, right, and they can be self-sustaining, not only self-sustaining, but they have excess, they have enough to impact and give to the people around them. To me, that's such a huge transformation piece that's just mostly unheard of and unseen in Haiti.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for those who are listening, a great story that was on your website is Pastor Eldet. Did I say that right?
Correct.
Yeah, I watched his
Eldet,
video yesterday, and he kind of just explains exactly what you just explained, like how, he never thought he would get married and have kids, and now he's the one who is helping all his circle around him and totally stimulating the economy and just creating that cycle. So what about spiritual transformation?
Yeah, I think the spiritual one, I think at times takes a little bit longer, and sometimes it's harder to tell, but I think it's very similar because our program is so relational. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. You spend 5 minutes with me, you're going to know that, but I just try to be somebody that just loves. I just want to radiate Jesus in my imperfections and who I am. I'm a normal dude. I'm one of the disciples. I put my foot in my mouth like Peter. Yeah, I'm not perfect, but here's the reality. I follow Jesus' example of the majority of what we do for leadership development it's relational. It's not, we have some books we go through, but it's this right here. It's, hey, how's your boyfriend? How's your girlfriend? Tell me, how can I pray for you? What are some struggles you're going through, right? Like, it's that relationship. And so now when they're married, and we've been walking through them for years and breaking bread together and having them over to our house, now there's this depth. And so for me, what I've seen is like Teepa and John, there's two young guys that Elda has led to Christ. They're both working for us. They're on our staff. They're in our leadership development. Teepa speaks English, drives the trucks, handles all our generators. He does all the reporting for our fuel and our purchases and stuff. So here's a guy that, if you know his story, like similar to Elda, like middle of nowhere, abandoned, no one gave him a shot. Elda invites him into his home, right? So the spiritual transformation that I see is the leaders that God's allowed me and my wife Lacey and our team to empower are now inviting other men and women into their house, equipping, discipling, spending time with them, right? Like sharing the gospel with them. And now these people are like, hey, it's not, the story is no longer, hey, Pastor Mark and Lacey led me to Christ. It's Elda led me to Christ. It's Jacqueline led me to Christ. It's Rainus led me to Christ. It's John Kelly told me I should come to church and invited me to church. And I've been coming ever since I gave my life to Christ, right? Like, it's all these men and women that the original leaders that we invested in are now training the next ones. And to me, it takes a while, you know what I mean, for that to happen. But to me, that's where I see the biggest growth is, I've seen growth in them personally, because a lot of them, their story was they came to Christ, after I met them or very early on. And so now here they are on the flip side. They're the ones now sharing the gospel, running our churches, sharing Christ with their neighbors. And to me, that's like the greatest gift you could give, is that I can be talking to you and everything's going on in Haiti and they're the ones sharing Christ. So that the spiritual transformation, to me, that's huge, because it just keeps going. And so that's why I'm such a passionate person when it comes to discipleship and equipping and empowering, because once I equip and empower you, now you're going to go empower some others, and I'll take my focus and do some more, and it just keeps the ripple effect. And so that's where I see Christ just doing stuff in people's lives, and it isn't me. It's I was able to do a few, but now they're the ones, and that's what I just really see spreading. And now it's Haitians reaching Haitians. It's not the missionary, it's not the white guy doing it, and I see Christ just moving across Haiti, and it should make the front page of the news. It's not, but it should.
I love that. Yeah. And earlier today, I was talking to Ruben, our intern, about his trip to Haiti. And so he has a degree in international development. And so I was saying, like, how does the theory of that work with what you saw and experienced with the missionaries that you encountered? And he said, well, the theory of it is one thing, but it's Christ that brought people back to their own communities to serve their own people. And it's the Great Commission that kind of keeps people there and spreading the gospel. And I think that's like just a beautiful marriage of, investing in their physical needs and then Christ just taking over the spiritual transformation of the area. So Very
Right.
neat. Yeah.
Well, and none of our Haitians are sitting there going, I got to get to America.
Yeah.
They're trying to reach their own people.
Yeah.
And, we got girls that want to be engineers, and we got a guy that's like, I might run for mayor one day. And, we got carpenters and pastors, and you know what I mean? Like, that's it. They want to get back to their community. And I'm like, that's it, man. Like, you go after them, just be Jesus. And we just want to give you the tools that equip you and allow you to minister, because you do have to meet the physical needs first. Obviously, if my leaders are living in poverty and they can't help, right? So the fact that they can be a little bit well taken care of and be able to be self-sustaining, now they have enough to give to their neighbors and others, and people are listening, people are watching, and I think that's a huge testament. And God's alive and active. It's awesome.
I like that. So like you talked about somebody like Benny coming in and doing some training for his area of specialty.
Right.
What's your take on short-term teams? I know they can really get a bad rep sometimes, and of course for very valid reasons. But
Right.
on your website, you talk about welcoming short-term teams, and to somebody who would say, I'll just send the cash, do what you want with it. Like, what's the value? What's the value in actually coming over?
Yeah, I think there are some times where we've even had our churches say, hey, just for the sake of who's coming, we just rather send you the money instead of come. Okay, I get that. There are times where maybe unrest, travel, whatever, I get it. But I'm actually a huge fan of mission trips, because I wouldn't be a missionary and running Haiti Bible Mission if I never went, right? Most of the people that I would say 90% of the people that support Haiti Bible Mission have visited Haiti Bible Mission, right? Like they believe. And so I think they need to be done well. And I think there needs to be a purpose. So I feel like them coming, it does multiple things. Number one, it encourages us as the missionaries. Number two is it does provide finances, because we make a little money on teams coming down, and not just money for the mission, but then you have projects and things that are funded usually by these teams that raise the money to come down. So now you have projects that are funded. It encourages and lifts the arms of all of our Haitian men and women, because now they feel like they're important, their country, their people are important enough for you to buy a ticket and come down and invest into them. And then lastly, obviously, it's hard to invest in something that you don't know. And so when you haven't seen it, smelled it, tasted it, experienced it, when you understand and know the names of people, when you can say, oh, I remember Jacqueline. Oh, I remember Mona. She was that teacher. She's so sweet. Oh, how's Shasha doing? Your head of security. How's Elda doing? With his 4 kids, right? And the one he's adopting. If you don't know what's going on, right? You know what I mean? So I feel like that's where the compassion to donate. There are times where we have groups that come down and they're like, hey, you know what? I can't make it this year, but I'm just going to send a donation. I get it. But they're bought in because they came. Does that make sense? So I think it's important. But here's what I would say the caution is you don't want this. Hey, I'm holding this kid. Like we want to throw it on Instagram. Like, hey, are you doing this for the Lord? Are you doing it for you? And I think early on when I started Haiti Bible Mission, we had teams come down, and that's what it was about. It was about them. Hey, I want to hold a kid and get a picture. And like, what? Like, why are you here? You know what I mean? And I failed too, because I didn't set the expectations to be like, you're here to help empower them, to work alongside of them. You're not here so that you look good and feel good. It's a blessing if you do. But so I think when the mission teams come down, there needs to be a purpose. And so that's why I said, like, for Haiti Bible Mission, we encourage them. But I'll give you an example. We have a church coming from Indiana. And the pastor and his wife, they're some of our best friends. When they're coming down, man, I'm having them invest in some of our pastors and in some of our lead, right? Like you don't just come down and feel good and go home. You're going to make a lasting impact with our men and women and build relationships. And that's what it's about. Because if you come down and you go home and our leaders don't feel loved or empowered, then I just feel like we're kind of, what are we really doing? So I do think it's important, but I think there needs to be more of a long-term plan and purpose. Does that make sense? Like, I hope that's clear. Like what I said, like, no, it's not just to come down and do it. We don't just go put a roof on. We want to do that roof, but we want to empower people along the way, build relationships with people on the way, so that there's this relationship long-term, and that they feel like I've grown some, whether it's spiritually, whether it's financially, whether it's with a skill trade. So that's always our focus when anybody comes down.
Yeah. And it's also just about reframing your mindset around global missions entirely. And I was listening to a different podcast, something about global missions, and it was an interesting one. And it was about reframing your mindset around global missions. And the first point was to help. First step, help people understand the state of the world. So like, we're kind of in our North American bubble. So, just get on the news, like go research what's happening in other countries, like be aware of current affairs.
Right.
And then the second point was to actually experience how other people see the world. So removing your North American lens and actually investing into somebody else's life and understanding the clashes of culture and trying to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And we did a whole podcast on, this is my plug for episode 15. Go back and listen to that. But what do you think of that? Like, is there anything that you'd like to, from your experience, add to that? Like, how can people kind of reframe their mindset about global missions and kind of get on board with this idea of investing local? Any tips? To add to that, I should say.
Well, I think it's just easy when you get comfortable. That goes for anything. When you grow up poor, you're always hustling. And it tends to be that, you come into some money and you kind of go on cruise control, right? Like some people are like, oh God, I'm just praying that you can help me graduate, and you just kind of cruise, right? You're not thanking God. You're, man, if I just get that job, and everybody's kind of, you know what I mean? And when things are good, you tend to forget God. I mean, the Bible talks about that, right? Like the children going into the promised land, it was like multiple times God had to remind people, don't forget the Lord your God when you get in and your houses are built and your bellies are full. There tends to be a theme, my own life included. I've prayed more as a missionary and as a pastor than I ever did when I was making tons of money, because I need now, and I should have then, but I admit that I'm in more of a desperate state of need now. You know what I mean? Like I rely on the Lord's provision. And so I thank God every day there's these lights that turn on. Like most people around the world don't have electricity. Most people don't have running water. 2 days ago, a pipe broke in my backyard here in America and we had no water. But guess what? It didn't faze me. I've known what it's like to live in Haiti without water, but most people don't, like in America or maybe even Canada or somewhere where, this developed. And I think the lens we need to have is, are we thankful for what we have? And do we understand that we're the minority? You know what I mean? I don't care what race or color you are. It all comes down to, like, if you live in America, you have access to things that most people in most countries do not have. And obviously living in Haiti, being to Mexico multiple times, I know the poverty and I know those things. But yeah, it's so easy when we're just, we got iPhones and we got Wi-Fi and we have AC and paved roads that we just kind of just get numb to the fact that, and you can even see it on the news. But that's why I sit there and encourage groups to come down, because even if you come one time, you're going to be an advocate, not only for missions, but you're going to be an advocate for the poor person in your neighborhood. You're going to be an advocate for that single mom that's working 2-3 jobs, that's divorced or widowed, because you see that they're in need, right? You start to have compassion on people that and you see things and you see the world in a different light. Now you're not yelling and screaming because you're stuck in traffic. You're praising the Lord that you actually have a car with air conditioning or heat if you're in Canada. You know what I mean? And so I feel like that's, it just opens your eyes to those things. And I don't think most people really, anyone that's been on a mission trip, their eyes are open. They see it. So I think, like you said, that's it. And we tend to be sidetracked with this little device here. That's,
yes, we are.
It's so easy. Oh, I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that. Are you really? Do you really thank God for this? Do you thank, your family for their provision? Are you, do you live a generous, like Benny was saying, do you have a heart of generosity? Like, or is it just, we kind of live in a state of, we're consumers. There's two kinds of people, consumers and investors. Consumer looks at what I can get. An investor looks at what I can give. So do you look at what you can get in this life for you, or do you look at what you can give to make this world and your neighborhood and your place of work even better, because you're giving of what you have. So I think coming on a trip will open your eyes to that for sure. I think thankfulness, contentment.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of trips, here's your chance, Mark. Give us an honest review of Hungry for Life and their teams. We can handle it. How do you feel like?
Oh my gosh. No, I sent in some really nasty stuff a couple years ago. No, I'm just kidding. How do I think
have
what?
we grown? How have we learned? Anyways, the relationship between Hungry for Life and Haiti Bible Mission, has that been impactful? Has it been positive? You can be honest. We can edit this, right,
No.
Adam?
Yeah. Yo, Adam. Yeah, Jason wanted me to tell you to have the buzzer, the beep thing for
You know
when
what?
I
He told
say
me the
things
same
I
thing.
shouldn't. Yeah, I'm trying to be on my best behavior, so everybody watching, like
You're
I'm
doing
a real
great.
person, so things fly out of my mouth.
You're doing great.
So I think here's what I love. First of all, I love all your staff. I've met some of your board members through Zoom. I've met a couple down at our place. And this isn't BS. I truly love the way you guys operate because you're trying to find people that fit with what we do. And that's rare. Sometimes, you know what I mean? It's like you're weeding out the people or churches that might not be a good fit for us. And I learned the hard way that not every church and not every person is a good fit for what we do. Does that make sense? Like people like, hey, we want to come on a mission trip. They come down. It's like, oh, well, we want to work with orphans. Well, we don't have an orphanage. Like our orphan program is when we see an orphan, we try to raise money and put them in with an uncle, an aunt, a cousin, a family member, right? Like yeah, we don't run an orphanage. So maybe we're not a good fit. So my point is Hungry for Life is like, hey, we're trying to find donors. We're trying to find churches. We're trying to find partners, trying to find people to come down that fit well with what you're doing. And then I just think there's a lot of great communication and how can we pray for you? What's going on? What are some needs? How can we help? I've never seen that in anywhere else. And so I feel like it's helped us because it's even helped us over the years go, man, like, do we really vet and check, who's coming down? Are we really focused on what we're trying to do? And it's been a huge help. And obviously Jason being one of my best friends, that helps. At the same time, like if he's one of my best friends, but it's not working, I'd be like, look, dude, this ain't working well, and obviously you can edit this. So, I mean, we had one team that came down that it just didn't go that great, but it wasn't Hungry for Life's fault. I think there was just a different idea and vision of what they had versus what we do, you know what I mean? And it didn't mesh. So it's like, we're over here and they're over here, and that's okay. It's not always going to be a good fit, but man, I love Hungry for Life and what you guys stand for in your partnership and help, and in more ways than one. It's incredible. So,
well, likewise, there's always nothing but amazing things to say about Haiti Bible Mission. You mentioned orphanages, and somebody told me to ask you your thoughts on orphanages. I'm teasing.
Oh my gosh. I
get the eye roll. You know what?
This is where you need to bleep out because I'm going to say some things. No, I'll tell you real quick. I mean, people are listening to this might disagree with me, but call me up and I'll talk to you and my wife will talk. So we've only ran into like one orphanage in 13 years on the mission field that we actually think is good and legit. Okay. There's probably more out there, but all the ones that we've seen in Haiti, other than one, most of the kids aren't orphans. They're not true orphans. And so that's the first thing. I'm like, it's an orphanage, but they're not orphans. They're getting people to bring the kids in, or the parents are getting paid money to have these kids there. That's one. Number two is the overhead amount of money that you spend on these, it's astronomical. The other thing is that these orphans aren't getting adopted or anything. The majority of them, and I've had orphanages reach out to me, trust me, like they're like, hey, Pastor Mark, like we don't know what to do. These kids are 18 and we can't, you don't get funding for an 18-year-old. Think about it, right? Like it's hard to do what I do. And I'm not saying that to be woe is me. What I'm saying is I try to raise money for young adults. That's harder. Or adults to say, hey, I'm trying to put them through college. It's very easy to say, hey, I've got this 8-year-old kid that can't eat or go to school, right? Mm-hmm. And so the problem is you have all these orphanages, but they bring in all this money, yet our lives really being changed. Because once they hit 18 and they're out on their own, where are they going? What are they doing? What's the follow-up? Yet that's where my heart is to go after those young adults, because now is when they're going to, to be the most fruitful and go after them. Otherwise, they're just going to be a statistic. So I'm my best behavior to watch what I say, because I do believe there's good ones out there. Yeah. But I was a little bit more vulnerable and open, and my wife Lacey too, in front of Jason and your team when we were off the camera, because I tend to use some other words because I just don't see many run well. And there was one that I had to shut down. I went to the local authorities and had one shut down because a 12-year-old girl died right in front of us while I had a team there. We were just partnering with, and she died of worms. And worms in Haiti, you can get treated very easy. It's a few dollars. I mean, it's a common thing. My kids have had worms. I've had worms. So when you use a 12-year-old kid that dies right there while we're there, it ignited a fire in us, because I guess she was sick like that for a week and nothing was done. And so I go, I'd love to call all the Americans that are supporting you, and you know what I mean? But I didn't, but I got the authorities to shut them down, and then that person hates me. But you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a fan of it. So I would rather see you figure out how to put those children in a good family home, or get them adopted or foster care, or do something, something where they're going to be empowered, be with an uncle and aunt. Like, if me and Lacey died, don't put my 5 kids in a, orphanage, put them with a family member and maybe raise money to help, So I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of them. Plus I see the amount of overhead and the lack of care, and I've seen probably too much negative that I probably have a different view. So
yeah, I went a little off script on that one, but I'm really glad I did, because that's super insightful from somebody who has invested as much time as you have into the culture in another country. You can speak credibly to that, and so I think that's great that people are hearing that.
Well, and you don't have to take my word. I mean,
sure.
If you wanted to, you could call any one of my Haitian men and women and ask them their thoughts, because they've been with me when we've gone into the orphanages, and they come out very frustrated. So that's where I would.
Oh, cut out. Are you there, Mark?
And Jeremy, so.
You cut out for a minute there, but you were frozen. Was I frozen? No, we're good.
You were frozen for a second. Am I back on now?
Yeah, you're good to go. That reminds me of one of my first trips to Uganda. We came across, I don't know if they're still in existence, but it's called Cherish Uganda. And it wasn't an orphanage, but it was like a bunch of homes where they put 8 children with a house mom, and with the idea of reintegrating those kids back into their their real homes with their moms and dads in a few years. And I think that is kind of what you're talking about. Like, that's a better solution, is like, don't take them away from, they're not necessarily orphans. Why don't we empower the mom and dad and maybe get them to come and work in the garden for a little bit, and we take care of their kids, and then eventually reintegrate them. I think that's, but anyways, back on script. We're almost at the end of our questions here. Although I did come across something on your website I've never seen before on a missions website. Wedding ministry. Talk to me about this. What's the wedding ministry?
We have hundreds of couples that are living together that don't have the funds to get married. So Haiti is different. Anybody that knows, maybe most people don't know Haiti, but in order to get married, there's a culture there where you have to have a house, you have to have a job, you have to have like a table and chairs and a bed and all this stuff. Like, and then you have to kind of throw the party. So it's like this thing where people are like, hey, we're going to live together, we're going to have kids together, but we can't get married because I don't have all these things, right? And some of them it's frustrating, because I'm like, wait a second, you're living together, you're going against God's best and God's word and his plan. And so I'm like, why don't you just get married and then save up, and we'll do a big party afterward. But most of the time that's just it, is they don't have the money. In America, like, we could go, hey, I'm going to go to Rooms to Go and buy all this on my credit card or finance it, right? There's no financing in Haiti. So little old Jeremy Haiti. So there's just so many couples, and even in our churches, that just don't have the means to get married. So we raise money here, and my wife Lacey I don't know if that's on our website or not, but wife Lacey put on her wedding dress. By the way, Sunday is 18 years for me and my wife Lacey.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Thank you. So she stood out in our yard and did a video with her wedding dress, saying, man, if you have a wedding dress or a suit, send it to us. We'll ship it over. If you have old, maybe you grew out of your wedding ring. Some people change, like I even got a different one for my wife, you know what I mean? As time changes. So what do you do with that old one? What do you do? Maybe if you're in divorce and you're like, hey, you know what? I want to donate some of my old stuff to help, but that's a big deal. And then we try to raise $500 per couple so that they can get married and have a little party and reception. So obviously the cost of things are going up. It's technically costing a little bit more, but that's what we do. And there's times that we'll have 4, 5, or 6 couples get married on the same day, because we pay the pastor to just sit there and just crank out all these weddings.
It's like
and
Vegas.
So, but we feel like that's a way to honor the Lord, honor them, is we can raise money and go like, Haiti Bible Mission we're not just throwing the Bible at people. We're like, how can we help make your life better? Well, the Bible says we should be married and have a family and be an example to those around us. So what's hindering you? Oh, you need to get married? We'll take care of that. So we try to help people with that. It's really cool. So,
that's so cool.
We probably, I think, have 40, I want to say there's like 40 couples right now on the list to be married. So at $500 a couple, you do the math. That's a big chunk of money. But as the God provides, we just keep marrying couples. So
I love that. That's such a unique thing. And yeah, it's very cool. So if somebody wants to get involved in Haiti Bible Mission, what would you say is a great first step?
I would say sign up for our newsletters. We don't cram you with monthly. We do quarterly, every 3 months. We try to send it out. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, just kind of see if what we're doing and what we're about is something that intrigues you and know a little bit more about us. I think that's a great first step. And man, if you're like, hey, I love what you're doing, you want to join in and support us monthly, great. If you want to come down and see us firsthand and go, hey, it looks cool, it looks like you're doing great stuff on social media, but I want to come down firsthand and do it, we'd love to have you do that as well. But I think first step, if people are a little nervous or whatever, just check us out on Instagram or Facebook and sign up for our newsletters, check out our website, and just get to know us a little bit that way too. So I think we're pretty, I don't think it takes very long to see we're pretty transparent and open. And most people, you can get my number and email or call me, and I'm always happy to talk to people too. So they got nothing to hide. I'm pretty open. So I think that's a great first step. Somebody just wants to get an update and follow us on social media. That's a great place to start. But I'm a big fan of trips too, so I'd love to have people come down. So
there you go, and that we can help with. There you go.
Hey, that's exactly right. I know an organization.
Yeah, I know somebody. Cool. Well, we will tag you in when we post this, which will be in a couple weeks time from filming this. But so people who are listening can just click the links in the post and find Mark there. Hey, thanks for taking the time to sit down and chat with us and let our viewers and listeners know a bit more about Hungry for Life, Haiti Bible Mission. And
that's right.
Yeah, we love working with you guys, and we hope to be ramping up those church groups and teams. So we'll see.
Thank you happens. Yeah, thanks for having me on, and I just appreciate all you guys and your partnership. It means the world. So I was just texting Benny this morning.
Oh yeah.
So and Jason. So I love you guys, and I just believe God's got some great stuff in store. And with the way the world's going right now, we know it's crazy, but like I know there's a sense out there where people are like they want to get involved, they want to make an impact, they want to make a difference, and so we'd be happy to be more involved with people from your neck of the woods that want to come down and hang with us. So we love it.
Well, we want to get out of our neck of the woods, so maybe we'll come there.
I'm ready. So
okay, thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Jess. God bless, guys.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to What in the World, where we seek to educate and inspire. Here at Hungry for Life, we are passionate about your group having a global impact in eradicating needless suffering. For more information, head over to our website at hungryforlife.org, and you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you may listen to podcasts. Tune in every other week for another conversation about what is happening at Hungry for Life.